The bell above the door jingled softly, just once, before the silence swallowed it whole again. Franklin didn't even look up. He never did anymore. The old pawn shop didn't get much foot traffic these days, and when it did, it was either someone selling off something desperate, or someone browsing for something forgotten. Neither required small talk. The man behind the counter moved slowly, but not from laziness. His body had learned a different pace in another life, a pace shaped by sandstorms, ambushes, and the long wait between the sound of a mine and the moment it decided to go off. His left leg dragged slightly, a souvenir from a blast he never talks about. His knuckles were thick, and always smelled faintly of gun oil, even though he hadn't held a weapon in years. Franklin was a man built from silence. Not absence of noise silence, but the heavy kind, the kind that echoes inside you. He adjusted the lamp next to the register and squinted at a tiny wristwatch he'd been fixing. A .42 Hamilton. Still ticked, like something in his chest. That's when the stranger walked in. Young, mid-30s, maybe? Shaggy hair, tattered coat. The kind of guy who'd been sleeping in borrowed rooms or no rooms at all. He looked nervous, not shifty, but unsure. Like the world had moved on without him, and he was still catching up. Franklin clocked the box under his arm. Cardboard. Old. Taped up more times than necessary. The stranger nodded toward the glass counter. Got something to sell, he said. Franklin only replied by flipping the lamp slightly toward the stranger, lighting the space in front of him. The man opened the box. Inside, beneath a cloth napkin and an old Zippo, sat something Franklin hadn't seen in 27 years. A dog tag. His dog tag. He froze. Just for a second. But in a place this quiet, seconds lasted longer. He reached forward slowly, not touching it, just looking. The metal had dulled, but the engraving was still visible. Mackenzie, Franklin J. OPOS, USMC, 048-12-6789. No religion, no regret. A burn started in his chest. Not anger. Not fear. Just memory. Where had this come from? He looked up. The stranger wasn't watching him. He was looking around the shop. At the walls, the old helmets, the rusty harmonicas, the photos no one had claimed. Franklin finally spoke. "Where'd you get this?" The man flinched like he'd forgotten Franklin was there. He rubbed his neck. "Bought a storage unit outside Charleston. Just junk mostly. But this, thought it might be worth something." Franklin didn't answer. He reached under the counter and pulled out a faded folder. Military green. Thick. From the drawer he never opened. He opened it now. Inside were 3 photographs, each yellowed with age, the corners curled. Marines. His unit. Smiling like they didn't know what was coming. And in the corner of one photo, blurry, but visible, that same dog tag hanging from his neck, right over his heart. His hand trembled slightly as he set the folder down. The stranger was watching him now. Carefully. "Something wrong?" he asked. Franklin studied him. Not the clothes. Not the posture. The eyes. There was something else there. Not criminal. Not cruel. But haunted. He reached down and gently closed the box again, sealing the tag inside. "You got a name?" Franklin asked. The stranger hesitated. Then, "Darren. Darren Cole." Franklin didn't react, but the name, it rang something. Not a bell, but a scrape. A faint sound in a long corridor. He reached for a notepad beside the register and scribbled something. Then looked up, eyes sharp now. "You ever served, Darren?" The man looked startled. Then dropped his gaze. "No. No. My dad did. But not me." Franklin stared at him a while longer. Then set the box gently to one side. "I'll take it." Darren blinked. "You sure? It doesn't have much." Franklin cut him off with a nod. As the man left, the bell above the door rang again. And this time, Franklin didn't look away from the dog tag. Not for a long while. Rain pelted the tin roof of the storage facility like distant artillery fire. In the dim corner of an off-grid military archive, Master Sergeant Eli Draper stared at the faded photograph that had derailed his entire assignment. It was tucked inside an ancient Recon file, labeled Operation Flat Echo, 1999. A name no one had spoken aloud in over 2 decades. The woman in the picture wasn't wearing fatigues or insignia. She was dressed plainly, leaning against a rusted vehicle in a desert compound. But it was her eyes that froze Draper. Blue. Cold. Alert. He had seen those eyes before, last week, in a local library near Quantico. The librarian had smiled at him kindly when he asked for a section on Cold War tactics. Her fingers never hesitated on the keyboard, her posture still and symmetrical. She even offered a correction when he misnamed a Soviet operation. At the time, he thought nothing of it. Now he realized she had been vetting him. He dropped the photo on the desk. No way. He ran the Recon file through facial recognition. Low probability hit. Too old. Too blurry. But something inside him wouldn't let it go. Not after everything he'd seen in the field, ghosts, shadows, retired operatives who didn't retire at all. He called in a favor from Naval Intelligence. Deep file access. It pinged after an hour. Real name, Elsa Merrick. Last known clearance level, Stratum 4, well above his own. But the record ended abruptly in 2001. Termination, administrative removal, classified directive. No death certificate. No transfer. No official retirement. Just a disappearance. Back in the library, Elsa moved silently between the aisles, shelving return books with the precision of a machine. Her hands didn't tremble. Her breathing remained calm, measured. Even as Draper entered again, eyes sharp, heart pounding, she didn't flinch. "Back for more Cold War trivia?" she asked, without turning. "Something like that," he replied, stepping cautiously closer. There was a pause. Then, as she placed the last book, she turned to face him. "You've been digging." He nodded. "And you want to know if the stories are true?" Draper said nothing. He didn't need to. She reached under the desk, pulled out an envelope, and handed it to him. "Don't open it here." Then, just like that, she walked away. He opened the envelope that night in a secured safe house. Inside was a single photograph, this time in color. It showed Elsa in full Recon gear, crouched beside a SEAL team in a jungle compound. The photo was marked Spectre 7 and stamped "Do Not Acknowledge." Behind the image was a torn field note. "Only one of us came out. Target neutralized. Team status, compromised." She didn't speak for days. But she got us out. Draper sat back in his chair, exhaling slowly. This wasn't just a ghost story. Elsa Merrick had been operational. And someone had buried that fact so deeply, only chance had unearthed it again. He had a decision to make: report this up the chain, or go dark and see how far the rabbit hole went. But something told him he wouldn't get far before someone stopped him. Or worse, silenced him. So he made a different call. The next morning, Elsa wasn't at the library. Her desk was untouched. Lights off. No forwarding information. When Draper traced her known aliases through unofficial channels, he got one hit: a reservation logged at a safe house used during black site operations. Date: 2 days ago. Location: classified. But it confirmed something vital. She was already moving. It took Draper 4 days and 3 burner phones to reach someone who would speak about Operation Flat Echo. And even then, it was only a whisper over an encrypted line. She saved 6 men. Walked out alone. No backup. No comms. Just steel nerves and dead targets. Then the line went dead. No one called back. But Draper now had a thread, and Elsa Merrick was at the center of it. A week later, Draper found himself in the Nevada desert, just outside the ruins of a decommissioned forward operating base. On paper, it had been used for cold weather training. But there was no snow here. No obvious use. and no records that explained the lead-lined basement sealed under 4 feet of reinforced steel. He descended into the dark. The air was dry, metallic. Old paper and spent adrenaline clung to the walls. And at the far end of the corridor, beneath layers of dust and code locks long out of use, he found it, a war room, dormant since 2001. But on one wall, still intact, was a mission board, red string, photos, handwritten Recon notes. And in the center, Elsa Merrick. Same eyes. Same posture. But the photo here showed her holding a long-range rifle. Not reading books. A short note beside the photo read, Primary, Target Acquisition and Field Silence Protocol. Secondary, Psychological Containment. Status burned. Burned. It meant officially forgotten. Disavowed. It meant the military had taken her talents, used them in operations so black they didn't officially happen, and when the costs got too high, or someone got too uncomfortable, they erased her. But she hadn't stopped. She had simply faded. Until someone like Draper stumbled on a ghost too heavy to ignore. That night, in a safe house 2 counties away, Draper walked in to find Elsa already inside. She was seated in the corner, cup of coffee in hand, a half-burned file open on the table. No weapons in sight, but her presence filled the room like a loaded sidearm. You went too far, she said calmly. You were already gone, Draper replied. But you left too many pieces behind. Someone was bound to notice. Elsa set the cup down. Then you've given them a reason to finish the job. He stepped closer. What were you, Elsa? Who trained you? Her silence was more answer than denial. But after a pause, she spoke, just once. They didn't train me to survive. They trained me to disappear. The following morning, Draper woke to find Elsa gone. Again. But this time, she had left something behind, a small flash drive. Encrypted. Untitled. When he cracked it open with a triple-layer air-gap system, he found 5 videos, all time-stamped between 1997 and 2001. The footage showed desert ops, jungle extractions, and long-distance kills executed with eerie calm. But more than that, it showed Elsa training others. In one video, a SEAL trainee lay prone on a sniper hill, breathing erratic. Elsa's voice, off-camera, instructed him gently. You don't pull the trigger. You exhale through it. The bullet follows your breath, not your muscle. Control that, and you control death. Another showed her assembling field kits blindfolded. Another, interrogating a defector with no raised voice, no threats. Just precision questions that cracked a man in minutes. The final video? A black site debrief. Her own face, bloody but still. I did what was necessary, she says. They weren't hostiles. They were witnesses. Then static. Draper knew what this meant. She wasn't just a ghost. She had trained the quiet ones. The ones who never showed up on mission credits. The ones whose stories ended before they began. And now? She was making sure someone remembered. Even if it got her killed. Some people disappear because they're afraid. Others? Because they've already done more than enough. Elsa Merrick didn't seek recognition. She didn't need it. The people she saved, and the ones she trained, were her legacy. Not medals. Not citations. Not even her name. In a remote facility in Virginia, the Navy SEALs still pass around an old photo. It's not labeled. There's no rank, no file number. Just a woman, arms crossed, looking down a sniper scope with the quiet intensity of someone who already knows the outcome. New recruits ask, "Who is she?" Veterans don't answer. They just nod and say, "Control your breath." She taught us that. Somewhere, maybe in a small-town library, maybe behind a locked door with no name on it, she's still watching. Still teaching. And if the world ever forgets her, it won't be because she failed. It'll be because she chose silence over ceremony. If this story moved you, honor it with a like. Subscribe for more true stories of silent strength and unseen courage. Comment below, Where are you watching from? And who is the quietest hero you've ever met?